Okay, this is the Dvar Malchut. It's a speech given by Lubavitcher Rebbe in 1991, and it's talking about the difference between the scouts or the spies that Moses sent and the spies that Joshua sent. We see in the end of this week's, after this week's Torah reading, we have what's called a Haftorah, and it tells the story over there right in the beginning of the book of Joshua, that Joshua sent spies into the land of Israel and to scout out the place. And the spies, they went in, they came back. Just one second. They came back and they gave the report. And that was the beginning of the Jewish people coming to the land of Israel. Okay, but 40 years earlier, 39 years earlier, 40 years earlier, Moses did the same thing. Moses sent 12 spies into the land of Israel, and they spent 40 days. They surveyed the whole place, and they came back with a not good report. And they dissuaded the Jewish people from entering the land, and God got very angry and punished them by giving them exactly what they wanted. They didn't want to go to the land of Israel, so God said, okay, you got it. 40 years are going to wander in the desert. And none of the people who refused to go to into the land of Israel will enter. You'll all die. All die. So they wandered for 40 years in the desert, and all those refuseniks that didn't want to go into the land of Israel, they all died in the desert. That's what Moses did. And then 40 years later, Joshua did the same thing, but he only sent 2 people. And they succeeded. So the Rebbe points out a lot of other differences between the two of them. First of all, Moses sent out his scouts just to survey the land, not to spy it out. Joshua's thing was to survey, was to scout. I'm sorry, was to spy out. Joshua's thing was to spy the land. And the Rebbe said because Joshua's whole thing was to conquer the land of Israel. And Moses, he was sure he was going to conquer the land of Israel. He had no doubt about it. He just wanted to send spies to enhance the Jewish people's expectations, right? To make them more favorable and excited about going into the land of Israel. That was Moses. Moses sent 12 spies, one for each tribe. And they all went together. They didn't try to go quietly in secret, which is not the case of Joshua. Joshua sent only 2, and they went in secret. Nobody knew they went, nobody knew they came back. And even when they went there, the people, and they hid themselves from the people of Canaan. And the spies of Moses, they didn't hide themselves. Okay, so the Rebbe pointed out whatever 6 differences between the two of them. That Moses sent out 12, Joshua sent out 2. Moses sent out in an advertised way, Joshua sent in a quiet way. Moses sent they went through the whole land of Israel. Joshua they went just to the tip of the land of Israel, just to the very edge. They went into the city of Jericho and then they ran away. And a few other differences. So let's go, the Rebbe is going to explain. How this is relevant to us, we're going to see. So the big differences between them like this. Because Bnei Israel, that the Jewish people requested to send spies, was the Yachbru Lano as Oretz V'Yeshivu Otanu, that the Jewish people said, we want to send spies. But we don't find that when Moses sent his spies, that he sent them to be spies, to spy out the land of Israel, to conquer it. Right? The Jewish people, they requested spies. That was the language they used. But Moses didn't use that language. The reason is very simply. We can say simply, since that Moses was used to miracles, and the Jewish people were living with miracles, and everyone knew that God was clearly with them. So therefore, Moses wasn't worried about conquering the land of Israel. He knew for sure that he was going to conquer. That the conquering the land of Israel wasn't in a way of conquering it in a natural way. Moses didn't, it wasn't going to be a military foray into the land of Israel. Ella al Yadei HaKodesh Baruch Hu, God was going to do it. Like Moses said, when Moses reproved the Jewish people, when Moses spoke to the Jewish people, he replied to the Jewish people that they said, let's please send spies, as God said, Moses said back to the Jewish people, Hashem Elokeichem Olechem Nevechem. God is going before you. He'll fight for you. God is going before you with a fire in the nighttime, showed you the way that you go, and a cloud in the daytime. In other words, the Jewish people came to Moses and they said, hey, we want to know what we're getting ourselves into. Let's send some spies. So Moses said to them, hey, what do you have to have spies for? I mean, God is taking care of it. He'll take care of everything. You see, God took care of the snakes and the scorpions in the desert. So he's gonna go in front of us. He said that there was a cloud that went in front of them in the day, a fire that went in front of them, a pillar of fire. It shows you the way. So why did Moses then agree to send these scouts in? Shlichotam, the reason that Moses sent the scouts or the spies, that he sent them laturis oretz, only just to survey the land. Read them at the oretz. It was going to be like an advertising campaign for a travel agency. You know, see the beautiful land of Israel, see the fruits. There's nothing like our mountains and our valleys, and look at the beautiful rivers everywhere. Everyone's smiling, everybody's happy. That was supposed to be the purpose. They went in, Moses sent them in to see the land of Israel, to see how good the land is. It's good qualities and it's good, how do you say, there's excellent features. V're'item at the oretz, to see the land, what it is. Is it good? Is it fat? Etc. Therefore, Moses commanded, therefore Moses commanded the scouts, bring back the fruits of the land. Moses was so sure that the land of Israel was fertile and that they would come back with examples of what a wonderful place it is, that he told them before they went, be strong and bring back some of those big fruits. Shi'iru perotel, what told him that you'll see the big fat fruits that they're there. And not only that, Shagam Riyat Ta'am, also the people will see Riyatem Ta'am, and also to see the people that live there. Are the people strong? Are they weak? Why? It's not in order to know how to conquer the land, but to understand how good the land is. That this is a land which is a very healthy place. The people there grow big. Like Rashi said, Yesh Eretz Magadelet Giborim, there are some lands which grow big people. Yesh Eretz Magadelet Chalashim, there's some lands which there's sick air, the air is not good, the ground is not good, the people there are weak. So therefore Moses said, see the people, if they're big, if they're strong over there, and that'll encourage these people that are going in. Wow, I want strong children like that. My grandchildren will be twice as tall as me. That's great. He said, there's some lands that grow its population a lot of people, and some have only few people. Amatu Murav. Are the people many? Are they few? So therefore Moses sent his scouts just to convince the Jewish people, all the rest, to be more excited about going into the land of Israel. And also he said, see the land, see the fruits, see the people, also see the fruit, the mountain, the cities that are there. Are they b'mivtzarim, b'machanim or b'mivtzarim? Are they open or do they have walls? Not in order to know how to conquer the land easily, but just to see chazak hu rofeh, to see are the people strong or not. Like Rashi says, that God gave them a sign that if the cities are open, then you know that the people that live there are strong and that they're not depending on their walls. And if the cities are weak, then from this you know that they have to make walls around their cities. If the land, so he wanted the people to come back, the spies to come back and say, listen, we saw that the cities don't even have walls around them. They're so sure of themselves. The people are so strong and so powerful. And that's what we're going to be when we go in there and live there. God will take care of the enemies. We don't have to fight any battles. Right? The people will run away. Who knows what's going to be? This mission that Moses sent the Jewish people, that sent the spies to see how good the land is, they did. They came back and they said, they came back after 40 days, and the spies said, we came to the land that you sent, and and it's flowing milk and honey, and these are its fruits. The iluloyim akalkalim, but the problem is they just added on a few things. And they said, but the people are very strong over there. And if you ask me, we're not going to be able to do it. We can't conquer them. You call Ben Israel, if they wouldn't have said those discouraging words, the Jewish people would have gone in with great joy and with a tremendous, how do you say, enthusiasm to come to the land of Israel. So Moses sent in these people. Okay, there's a lot of different ways that this is explained, but this is the way the Rebbe is explaining it here. He's explaining, and that Moses sent the spies in to see how good the land is, and they said the land is really good. It's better than you think, but the people that are there are very unfriendly, and they're very, very big, and they're very powerful. And God is going to send you now into the land of Israel, and who knows if we're going to be able to beat these people? Who knows? Like the Rebbe said later on, we'll see that God, the spy said, listen, God said he's going to fight for you, but he also said that when you go into the land of Israel, you're going to have to work on the land. If there's not going to be any more manna coming from heaven, there's not going to be any water from a rock. You're going to have to depend on digging wells. So if you're going to have to provide those things, maybe you're going to have to fight against the enemy also. And we're not such good fight. I mean, we're not trained in fighting. And these people, all they do day and night is just, practice chopping down trees and throwing, whatever is axes at mountains. Who knows what they do? And these people are awesome. So, it's a nice land, but it's nothing, it's not worth dying for. Not worth dying for. It says, therefore, if the spies would not have thrown in these words, and you have to remember the spies, they were the most respected people among the Jews, among the 12 tribes. They were Rosh Ben Israel. It says they were the heads. Everybody looked to them for their opinions. So if they came back and they gave this opinion, and there was 10 of them, they all agreed. Right? There was 12 spies, and 10 of them agreed. So the Jewish people said, listen, let's not take any chances. Let's stay in the desert. Here in the desert, we got it for sure. Okay, we'll miss a few fruits. But it's better than getting killed. That was what Moses did. Moses' intention was to inspire the Jewish people. Inspire the Jewish people. They didn't care about conquering the land. The land was conquered by as Moses' mind, at least. God was going to fight for them, no problem. The spies that Joshua sent in, he didn't send in to see how good the land was, because they already knew this from 40 years ago. This is already done before when Moses sent. Moses came back and everybody knew how wonderful the land of Israel was, and that the land of Israel is conducive to having children and healthy children and fruits. And Ella Shalichos Joshua's thing was just to conquer the land. Because conquering the land by Joshua was not in a way of such a high way, in a miraculous way, as it should have been by Moses. Therefore, Joshua knew that God was telling them that they're going to have to do a lot more, that he wasn't going to help them as much, or at least not in a revealed way. This is like Jews fighting wars. You fight a war, you have to have guns, you have to be trained. So it's true, God helps and does miracles. But Joshua, he knew that when they were going to go in, they were going to have to fight. Moses thought they weren't going to have to fight at all. They would just go in and take it over. It was the spies who all of a sudden threw everybody into these doubts. But Joshua already started out with these doubts, if you want to call it. He knew it wasn't a surprise to him. He knew that that's what God wanted, to go in the land of Israel and fight. So therefore, he sent in spies in order to know how to do it. How to do it. We'll see. I hope you see, according to this, now we can understand a few little differences between the spies of Moses and the spies that Joshua sent in. Bisman Moshe, at the time of Moses, God did not command to send the spies. Because the main reason for sending these spies or scouts that Moses did in the way of everyone that fights, takes over a land, a strange land, and this is not relevant to Moses. He thought that God was going to do everything. But so why did Moses send these scouts in the first place? Why did he do it? The Jewish people, they came and they said, let's send people in front of us. Now, here we're going to get into a whole psychological thing. Let's go and get into this. The Jewish people, they had a little doubt. They said, let's send in scouts just to see how good the land is. They said, we want to send out scouts to spy. That's what they said. So Moses said to them, listen, you don't need spies. You don't need spies. God's going to fight for us. But the Jewish people said, okay, listen, still, come on, Moses, are you afraid? Why don't you want to send in spies? Are you afraid? So Moses saw that the Jewish people already had a little sort of a seed of a doubt. A little seed of a doubt. And he wanted to do away with this doubt. Okay, how was he going to do? So Moses could have said to the Jewish people, there's nothing to worry about. Anyway, let's go. So the people would say, he doesn't want to send in spies. Now we got bigger doubts. There's something he's hiding from us. So now Moses has this big, difficult decision to make. Should he remain firm and not send in spies? Will that do away with their doubts or will increase their doubts? Or maybe Moses said I should agree with them, and maybe just my agreement itself will calm down their doubts. Just the agreement. We'll see. Rashi, that's what Rashi says. Moshe said with the hope, when they see that Moses says, oh, sure, you want to send the spies? Sure, I'll send the spies. I got nothing to hide. Okay, when Moses saw that they didn't stop doubting, asked God what to do. If he should send the spies or not in order to spy out the land of Israel, but just to show the good of the land and to quell all their doubts. As God said, listen, do it, you call the shots, Moses. And Rashi even brings down and says that why did Moses send? He says, like someone who wants to sell a donkey. So the person says, this donkey, is it going to be good? Can he go in the mountains? Can I take it for a ride in the mountains? Can I take it for a ride in the valleys? And the person who's buying, he wants to see the reaction of the seller. If the seller says, listen, not in the valleys, and he says, there must be something wrong. When he sees that the seller says, sure, take her up in the mountains, go whatever you want to, he says, okay, I don't have to take her in the mountains. Moses hoped that if he said, sure, you want to send spies, send spies. He hoped the Jewish people would say, okay, it's not necessary. We see you're not hiding anything. You know what? But in fact, it didn't work. It didn't work. The Jewish people said, let's do it. Let's send the spies. So Moses said, well, I don't know what I should do. Maybe it's forbidden. Maybe God doesn't want me to do it. I'm not going to go against God. So he asked God what to do. And God said, I'm not saying yes and I'm not saying no. You want to send spies, shlach lacha, ladatacha. It's your decision. Im tirtzeh, if you want to send, so send. Namely, because of God, from God's point of view, you didn't have to send in any of these scouts to see the good of the land. God already told you that the land is good, and that the land is good. Like it says, God says, I will take you from the poverty of Egypt to a good land. But nevertheless, Moses thought, maybe I should send the spies, the scouts, and that the people will feel ashamed. They say, wow, how could we doubt God? How could we doubt Moses? We're so sorry. Of course we'll go. Also wrote Israel, Moses was the shepherd of the Jewish people. He felt the necessity to lishmoa al derech tova oretz me'anashim sheyiru b'techila. He wanted there to come back first-hand witnesses, and they'll tell them how good the land of Israel was, and they'll be happy. Therefore, Moses said, Shlach lachad, God said, send people. He said, anashim, people. He didn't say send spies. V'yaturu, and they should scout out the land of Israel, not that they should spy out the land of Israel. Asher ani noten lebnei Israel, I'm giving the land of Israel to the Jewish people. If they want a survey of the land, okay, send, if that's what they want. And he said, send each as Nasi, 12 heads of the tribes. Call Nasibahem. Since the Shlichus Amli Roses, or since it was just in order to make them happy, the Jewish people happy, as that they will go into the land of Israel with a tremendous desire. They had to send the heads of the tribes. Why? That each one of them, the heads of the tribes, why were there 12 tribes? Because there were 12 different natures of Jews. And each tribe had its own general nature. So therefore they sent the heads of the tribes because each head knew what his constituents wanted. Especially his tribe likes more water. Another one says we like trees. Another one says we're agriculture. Another one says no, we want we grow cows. Another one, each one had their own thing that they liked, right? That they liked. We like olive oil. This one likes gold. This one likes jewels. This one likes this. Each one has his own thing. So each of the 12 tribes sent their head because their head worried for the good of their particular tribe, their nature, that it should see with their own eyes how good the land is, and it was fitting to each and every one of the tribes. And when each of the 12 tribes heard from his leader how good the land was, so then they would cast away all doubts, and they would say, let's go into the land of Israel. We can't wait. For this reason, there went the 12 spies that Moses sent to the scouts to scout out the land. They went through the whole entire place, the Arkol Rachba. So it took them 40 days. And not just that each one went to his own area, right? If it's for the 12 tribes, so each head of the tribe should have gone to his own area. The areas were already predetermined. Shekaven, since that the shlichus, that sending these 12 tribes, the heads of the Jewish tribes, were in order that each one would be able to give testimony for his individual tribe. So it should have been, instead of having all 40 together and all 40 travel around, right, which takes a lot more time, they could have just sent each head of the tribe to go into his land, and you look through his own land for like 3 or 4 days and come back, and that's it. And then the whole thing would have been finished in 4 days or whatever it is, instead of 40 days. All the time that the whole land was not divided into the 12 tribes, so they didn't know where is his individual portion. I'm sorry, one second. Okay, all the time the land was not divided, so nobody knew his own individual portion that was divided by a gorel, like what's going to be later on. We'll see. The land of Israel was divided up by lots, it said. The division was after they conquered the land. So therefore, all the 12 tribes, they had to go to the whole entire land of Israel together. And by means of this, they would know that each portion of the land. So they couldn't send each head of the tribe to his individual portion because they didn't know exactly where their portions were. So therefore, they all went, all 12 together, and all 12 would come back and say, well, we saw there's one part that's really good for diamonds. Oh, the tribe of Hunos of Reuven said, oh, that's what we want. Another one said, we saw another place that was really good for cows. And the tribe of Shimon said, cows, man, that's what I want. So therefore, they would know that the land of Israel provides all of the necessities for each and every nature of every tribe. Therefore, when they sent, they went all together, and it was advertised. They didn't go in a secret way. It goes without saying that all of the Jewish people knew about it. They were sent out with great fanfare. Because the whole reason that Moses sent these 12 scouts was in order to tell all the Jewish people about how good the land was, but also regarding to the people, the Canaanites. They weren't afraid of the Canaanites. That in addition to the fact that the 12 scouts did nothing whatsoever to hide themselves like spies usually do. The spies usually try to, how do you say, disguise themselves as one of the people in the land or something. But the spies, the scouts that Moses sent, they made no effort to hide themselves. And the reason was because they were not sent to spy out and to conquer the land. They were sent as tourists, just to look and see, right? Strange people come. What's the big, nothing wrong with strangers coming and looking in the land, right? Lo chashash, therefore, the Canaanites, they didn't worry, and also the scouts, they didn't worry that they were going to arouse any suspicion by the Canaanites, because they just went in order to see the land of Israel. Shekulam yiru kol chalkei haaretz. They just went so that all of them together would see the whole entire land, how good it was. Because in order to conquer the land, it was by means of God. They knew that God was going to conquer the land for them. Lo b'derech hatava, not in a natural way. Kach also gam shiluach v'halichos meraglim shelo b'derech hatava. Therefore, going was not in a natural way. Instead of hiding themselves, they didn't try to hide themselves. They didn't have any worry for any natural danger that the people would see them, and they were so small. It says we were like a grasshopper. Somebody would just step on them. They didn't worry, which is not the case. The spies of Joshua, they took all sorts of precautions because they were sent. They weren't sent for a benign purpose, just to go on a trip and see how nice the land was. They went with, what do you want to call it, a malicious intention as far as the Canaanites saw. They already knew how good the land was. Moses accomplished that with his scouts. But this was, when you come to any strange land to fight against it, naturally, you always send spies. Right? What do they call it? In English, there's a word. In Hebrew, it's called modi'in. I'll think of the word. Intelligence. Oh, intelligence. They have to have intelligence. Intelligence is there's spies that tell you what's going on in the country, where the weapons are hid, where the weak spots are. Therefore, Joshua sent 2 people, and they were spies, chirish. They were secret spies. Only 2, not 12. And he sent 2 people, not the heads of the tribes, not well-known famous people. Why? Because Kevin Shetzorich Yud Beis Nasim, that to supply the needs of the 12 tribes with the 12 leaders, this was to know how good the land is. But Joshua already knew from what Moses did. But in order to spy out the land of Israel, he didn't have to have 12. In fact, it was better just to have 2 and just to send out ordinary people. Nobody thought that they were big leaders or anything. Maraglim, cherish quietly. Hein benogel b'nei Israel, whether regarding the Jewish people or whether regarding the people in Canaan. Ki im sarei hatzava, shekol b'nei Israel yadu shenishlochu. But by Moses, everybody knew that they were. One second. This is the sentence. Cherish davka. Hein benogel b'nei Israel she'ein tzorich b'nei Israel to know who they were sent. That they were. It was better that they should be sent without any advertisement, so that no one would know about it. Ki'im sariyat tzava. Moses just sent people like generals, that they have to know how to go and conquer the land. How much more so in the people that are living in the Canaanites. Moses didn't want them to know that they were planning to take it over. They had to conceal themselves. Oh, kid, shit. When they heard the words of Rachav, okay, what happened to these spies that Joshua sent in? They managed just to get past over the wall in Jericho, and they hid themselves in the house of this woman. Her name was Rachav. And when they heard from her, in fact, they didn't spy out anything. They didn't even travel. They just hid in this house. But when they heard that she said, Yadati, I know that God gave you this land because your fear is on us. Everyone here is melting from fear in front of you. In other words, they knew the Jewish people were wandering around in the desert, and they knew that God promised the Jewish people the land of Israel. And they knew that eventually the Jews are going to come in. And everyone, they heard from this lady, Rachav, that everyone here is afraid of you. Said as soon as they see you, they're going to be afraid. As soon as they heard this, 2 spies, they didn't have to go even out of her house into the streets of the city. In order to the streets of the city, they didn't even have to go out. And therefore, after they concealed themselves, they hid 3 days in a mountain. What did she do? She said, you better get out of here. They're going to find you. If they find you, they'll kill you. So she let them down from her house on a rope, and she said, run away and hide in the mountains. They ran and they hid in the mountain for 3 days. They came back to Joshua and they said that God gave us the land because everybody's afraid of you. It doesn't make any difference how big the people are, what type of weapons they are, what type of fortresses. We don't have to know any strategies. We know one thing: they're afraid of us. They're afraid of us. Whatever we do is going to succeed. That's it. That was their mission, was to know how to conquer the land. Okay, what's this got to do with us? We're going to talk about tomorrow. But it's a very important thing. I think very important thing now for us to understand, even in our individual lives, can we trust God in physical matters or not? But that's one reason to say that Judaism is not a religion, is because religions are separate from the world. They're separate from the world. And the goal is to go to heaven or something like that. But the world, you don't deal so much with the world. Right? And Judaism says, no. We're talking about the world. We're talking about everything in the world. So what's the point? Does God help you in the day-to-day activities? In your money, with your children, with your families? There's a lot of disappointments in the world, a lot of things to be afraid of, right? What should we do? We're outnumbered, 500 to 1 in the world. Should we be afraid? Should we be intimidated? Should we hide our Judaism? Should we? So here we're saying the Jews had the same problem before they went into the land of Israel. And they saw big miracles, but nevertheless, it's natural, inherent inside of the Jews that, what do you want from us? Leave us alone. Let us be like everybody else. Why do we have to rely on God for all the time? Why do we have to bring God into everything into our life? Just let us lead normal lives, But no, God wants us to rely on him. He wants us, and the Rebbe says, very interesting thing, that a lot of times a person, let's say he did a lot of sins, he did a lot of bad things, and so he can say, listen, God's not going to help me. So the Rebbe said, no, you don't understand. Just relying on God is enough of a merit that God will help you. Just a decision that you make to rely on God, that decision itself is a tremendous merit. And it doesn't make any difference what you did in the past. And God will help you because see big miracles. So that's the whole story of the Jewish people coming into the land of Israel. And that's really what's going on now. Does Israel belong to the Jews? Have we got anything to do with the land of Israel? Right? And now it's really, the very, how do you say, the blatant, at least when the Jews came back then, the people had been living there for thousands of years, right? They've been living there for hundreds of years at least, right? The Jews came and conquered the land of Israel. It was like in the year 2,500, something like that, 2,500 years after the world. And before that, Jews didn't live there. I mean, there was occasionally Jews. Abraham was there, Isaac and Jacob, but it was inhabited, really, really inhabited. Now we got the Palestinians, and they call themselves Palestinians. The Zionists call them Palestinians. They didn't have any country. They didn't have anything. They didn't build anything. They didn't have nothing whatsoever. It's just like a no nation. It says that God says he'll punish us with a no nation, right? With a no nation. So it's like nothing. It's just so obvious that their claims are nothing whatsoever. But the Jews are even weaker. The Jews are even weaker. And the Jews, they don't know what to say. Blah, 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 blah. So what are they supposed to say? God. Bring God into the picture. The Jewish people are God's people. The land of Israel is God's land. God, bring God into the picture. God is the creator. God gave us the land. God made the Jewish people. The Jewish people are not normal people. We're God's people. We have to rely on God. And that's the whole story over here. Should the Jewish people rely on God or not? Says, take it or leave it. Well, when it comes to the land of Israel, yes, you have to rely on God. That's the whole story over here in this week's Torah portion, right? Should we rely on God to take us in the land of Israel or not? Well, as will be continued tomorrow. What do we got over here?